Hello and welcome back to another popcorn chat. In this week's video I'm going to be speaking about the film Bliss, or also known as Glück. So the film itself is a LGBTQIA plus story that follows two female sex workers in Germany, and it sort of follows these two women who fall in love with each other while working in a Berlin brothel. So the film follows various actors that I've never seen before that include Katharina Behrens, Ian Hansen and Maria Magdefrau. I'm sorry if I've mispronounced any of those, but they're some of the lead actors that are in this film. So this film stood out to me when it dropped into my inbox because I think it looked like it was shot really beautifully. There's definitely some really good cinematography in here that stood out from a lot of other films that I've been able to get screeners for. I think it looked really sort of artistic and sort of had this really sort of natural palette that I was really interested in, and the story seemed interesting, and I wanted to see obviously a lot more sort of international films, different sort of languages that aren't English, so this was a great film to try that out with. In terms of positives of the film, I really liked how the main two characters, the way in which they communicated, there was obviously an issue there because one was Italian, one was German, so there's the language barrier in itself. They used English sometimes to communicate on a middle ground, but the main things that I liked about this film and the performances from these two lead actors were the non-verbal parts, the sort of exchanges in, eye contact, body language. Those sort of smaller moments I think were done really well in this film. I definitely think it's one of those more intimate films that I've seen. At one point I had to question, are they actually doing this? Because it was so intimate and we don't see that much in sort of Western media. So it was very full on. It's very full on. Just as a pre-warning, it's definitely an 18 film regarding the subject matter, but there's a lot of front-facing full body shots, so there you go. As I said previously, when I saw the trailer, I thought it looked like it was shot very well, and that is true. I think the cinematography is done really well. Some really sort of nice shots with those anamorphic lenses. And I think, the lighting, considering it's quite a small film, was done nice and natural and fitted the tone. Nothing felt out of place and helped to reflect certain scenes and emotions that characters are going through, in a not too intrusive manner. There are points later in the film where there's usage of dance tracks, and the dance tracks were kind of iconic. I knew them, so they were pretty good. So that was really cool to get them in the soundtrack, and let them be used in a film like this. So definitely some negatives of this film. I think it was, a great sort of perspective and different way of looking at a romantic story like this. But saying that, I think the story beats were very cliched, and we've seen them again and again, so there's nothing new necessarily in terms of the story. Obviously we've just got two sort of female characters, and that makes it a little bit different, and the setting, but the romantic story beats was nothing new really. I do think, besides those sort of dance tracks that were part of, in situ of different scenes, I do think this film could have lent itself to a lot more of a sort of underscore throughout. It was quite quiet, so I think that could have really elevated this sort of narrative between these two characters a lot more. I think the film started well. I was interested in the first sort of half an hour and these characters and sort of how they sort of fell into love, and then it kind of lost me a little bit, and it fell on those tropes, and then I wasn't really sort of fully invested in it, so kind of lost my attention 2/3 into the film, which isn't great. I think this film is interesting. It has some good displays of, LGBTQIA plus relationships and those sort of more intimate moments that you don't get to see a lot in cinema. So I think that was done really well. I think the performances were pretty good from the lead actresses, but generally I think the story could have been a lot better. The structure there was a little bit sort of lazy and so similar to the things we've seen before. They could have done something a little bit different, I think, on this one. The film itself is just under an hour and a half, so it's just perfect in terms of attention span. If this film sounds like something that you're interested in, it is coming out to theatres on the 5th of August. And if you want to catch it online or on DVD, it's the 16th of August for that. Thank you very much for watching my review of Bliss. If you do go check out the film, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. I would love to check those out and see what your thoughts were on this film. And thank you very much for bearing with me on the videos, because, you know, I'm still settling in and sort of getting my bearings with my job and my sort of new home, I guess. So thank you very much for sticking with me. Make sure you follow me on my Twitter and Instagram. I post a lot more regularly on there. YouTube is a little bit more harder to do, so do check me out on my socials, which are all linked down below. And thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you very soon for another popcorn chat.